Hello, welcome back, everyone, to the Linguasphere Academy Podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sam, right here with you. So glad you're with us again.
You know, Sam, I was at a meeting last week, a team meeting, and someone made a suggestion that I thought was not the best idea.
Oh, what was the suggestion?
They wanted to change our entire project timeline, move everything up by 2 weeks, and I knew that would be impossible with our current workload.
So what did you do?
I froze. I didn't want to seem negative. I didn't want to disagree in front of everyone. So I just nodded and stayed quiet.
And what happened?
The project timeline changed, and then we missed every deadline. It was a mess.
Oh no, so you knew it was a bad idea, but you didn't say anything.
Exactly. I was afraid of disagreeing. I thought it would make me look difficult or uncooperative.
That's such a common fear. Many people are afraid to disagree, especially in a professional setting.
Today, our topic is how to politely disagree in English.
We're going to teach you how to express a different opinion without being rude, without damaging relationships, and without sounding negative.
Because disagreement isn't bad. It's how we improve ideas. But how you say it matters.
By the end of this episode, you'll have a toolkit of phrases to disagree politely in any situation.
As always, we'll speak clearly and keep it friendly. This is like practicing with a coworker before the real meeting.
So get comfortable. Let's start with the most important question. Why is disagreeing so hard?
I think it's fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of being disliked.
And in many cultures, disagreeing with someone senior is seen as disrespectful.
Right. So we stay quiet. We nod, we say, good idea, even when we think it's not.
But here's the thing. Good teams need different opinions. If everyone always agrees, you never improve.
Disagreement, when done well, is not conflict. It's collaboration.
So let's learn how to do it well.
First, let's talk about the wrong way to disagree. What not to do.
That's wrong. Direct, harsh, personal.
You don't know what you're talking about. Insulting.
No, that's a terrible idea. Negative and dismissive.
I disagree completely. Too strong, no softening.
These phrases create defensiveness. The other person stops listening. They start preparing their defense.
So instead, we want to disagree in a way that keeps the conversation open.
The key is to separate the idea from the person. You're not attacking them, you're questioning the idea.
Let's learn some polite phrases.
I see your point, but I have a different perspective.
This shows you heard them, you understand, but you see it differently.
That's an interesting idea. However, I'm concerned about...
Interesting is a great word. It's neutral. It doesn't say good or bad. Then you share your concern.
I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, I think...
Where you're coming from means I understand your position. Then you share yours.
I respectfully disagree.
This is direct but polite. The word respectfully softens it.
I see it a little differently.
Gentle, not confrontational.
That's one way to look at it. Another way might be...
You acknowledge their view is valid. Then you offer another.
I'm not sure I agree with that. Here's why.
I'm not sure is softer than I disagree.
I appreciate your perspective. Have you considered...
Appreciate is positive. Then you ask a question to explore the idea.
Notice a pattern. Start with something positive or neutral. Acknowledge their view, then share yours.
Let's practice these phrases in context.
Imagine your coworker says, "We should launch the product next month."
Polite disagreement. I see your point, but I'm concerned that we need more time for testing.
Another, "That's an interesting idea. However, we still have several bugs to fix."
Another, I appreciate your perspective. Have we considered the risks of launching early?
Now, imagine your boss says, "I think we should cut the marketing budget."
Polite disagreement. I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, I think we need to maintain our visibility.
Another, "I respectfully disagree. Our last campaign brought in significant revenue."
Another, that's one way to look at it. Another way might be to reduce spending in other areas instead.
Now, let's talk about using questions to disagree. This is very effective.
Instead of saying, that won't work, ask a question.
Have we considered the timeline for this?
What about the budget constraints?
What would this affect our other projects?
What are the potential risks?
Questions invite discussion. They don't shut down the conversation.
And they help the other person see the problem themselves.
Now, let's talk about agreeing first, then disagreeing. This is a classic technique.
Find something you can agree on, then add your different perspective.
I agree that we need to increase sales. However, I'm not sure this is the best way.
You're right that the deadline is tight, but I worry about quality if we rush.
I agree with your goal. I just think we need a different approach.
This shows you're on the same team. You share the same goal. You just see the path differently.
Now, let's talk about body language. It matters just as much as words.
Don't cross your arms. It looks defensive.
Make eye contact. It shows confidence.
Nod while they're speaking. It shows you're listening.
Keep your voice calm. Don't raise it.
Smile slightly. It keeps the tone friendly.
Now, let's talk about when to disagree in a meeting. Timing matters.
If it's a quick decision, speak up right away.
If it's a complex issue, maybe wait. Take a moment to collect your thoughts.
You can say, "I'd like to think about that for a moment," or "Can we come back to that point?"
It's better to take a pause than to blurt out something poorly worded.
Now, let's talk about disagreeing with someone senior. This can be the hardest.
The same principles apply, but you might want to be a little more careful.
Use softer language. I wonder if we might consider, instead of "I disagree."
Use questions. What about the impact on our timeline?
Acknowledge their expertise. You know more about this than I do, but I'm concerned about.
And pick your battles. Not every disagreement needs to be voiced.
If it's a small issue, maybe let it go. Save your energy for what really matters.
Now, let's talk about what if they disagree with you. How do you handle it?
First, listen. Really listen. Don't prepare your response while they're talking.
Then thank them. Thanks for sharing that perspective.
Ask questions to understand. Can you tell me more about why you see it that way?
Find common ground. We both want the project to succeed. We just have different ideas about how to get there.
And be open. Maybe they're right. Maybe you'll change your mind.
That's not weakness. That's growth.
Now, let's practice a longer conversation. I'll be the coworker, and you be the polite disagreeer.
Okay,
I think we should use the new software for the client presentation.
I see your point. The new software has great features. However, I'm concerned that not everyone on the team knows how to use it yet.
That's true, but we could train them quickly.
That's a good idea. But with our deadline next week, I worry that training would take time we don't have.
So what do you suggest?
What if we use the software we already know for this presentation and start training everyone for the next one?
That could work. Let's do that.
See? No conflict. Just problem solving.
Now, let's talk about disagreeing in writing. Emails, messages, feedback forms.
The same principles apply, but be careful. Tone is harder to read in writing.
Avoid words like wrong or mistake. Use softer language.
I have a slightly different perspective on this.
Have you considered?
One potential challenge with this approach is...
And always proofread before sending. Make sure it doesn't sound harsh.
Now, let's learn some useful phrases for written disagreement.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Here's another angle to consider.
I appreciate your input. I wonder if we might also think about...
This is a good start. To build on it, what about...
I see the logic in your approach. One concern I have is...
Now, let's talk about cultural differences. Disagreement looks different in different cultures.
In some cultures, direct disagreement is normal and expected.
In others, any disagreement is seen as rude, even if it's polite.
So know your audience. If you're working with people from a culture that values harmony, be extra soft.
When in doubt, use questions. They're almost always safe.
Now, let's bring back Maya. Maya is in a meeting at work.
Her manager suggests a new process for handling customer complaints.
Maya thinks it's a bad idea. It will take too long and customers will get frustrated.
But she's afraid to disagree. She remembers a time she disagreed and it went badly.
She takes a breath. She uses the phrases she learned.
I see your point about needing a more structured process. However, I'm concerned that this new process might take too long.
Her manager says, "What do you mean?"
Our customers expect a response within an hour. If we add these extra steps, it might take 3 hours.
The manager thinks, "That's a good point. What do you suggest?"
What if we keep the new process for complex complaints, but keep the old process for simple ones?
The manager likes the idea. Maya disagreed, but she did it politely. And her idea improved the plan.
She feels proud. She spoke up and it made a difference.
Now, here's your challenge for this week.
Practice disagreeing politely in one real situation.
It could be at work, in a study group, with a friend, or even just practicing out loud.
Use one of the phrases we learned. I see your point, but that's interesting. However,
Then, notice how it feels. Notice how the other person responds.
then come back and tell us in the comments. How did it go? What did you say?
We read every comment. Your progress inspires us.
Remember, disagreeing doesn't have to be scary. With the right words, it's just a conversation.
And your voice matters. Your perspective matters. You don't have to agree with everything.
Thank you for spending this time with us. We'll be back next week with another topic.
Until then, speak up, politely, respectfully, confidently.
And hey, before you go, if this episode helped you feel more confident about disagreeing, please hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it means we can keep making these practical episodes.
Yes, please. And leave us a comment. Have you ever disagreed with someone at work? How did it go? What would you do differently?
We read every comment. Your stories help other learners.
Subscribe, comment, share. It helps more people speak up with confidence.
Thanks again, everyone. Now go share your perspective.
Bye.